Okay, we're going to continue on with what we were doing in the last video, finding the reference angles. But these problems take it a step further because now it's asking us to find the exact function value. So when you see that word exact, that's where that whole idea of the special right triangles come in. So if we were to give ourselves a little bit of help here, we'll draw pictures of those special right triangles so we have them available to us when we need them. So if this is my 30, 60, 90 triangle, and that's what that triangle would look like. And if I have a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, please excuse my bad sketching here, 1, 1, root 2. Okay, so those are my little helpful things there. I always recommend to people when they're doing any of these types of problems, I'm not super strict on memorizing these so that you know them off the top of your head because it's easy to forget them if you haven't done them in a while, but I think it's more important that you understand the triangles and you can redraw the triangles whenever you need them, and so that can be a little helpful thing you put on the top of your quizzes or tests. And the other thing I would make sure I also have available to me is this little graphic here. So those are things that I would put on the top of my paper as helpful when you're taking a quiz or a test or doing any of these assignments. Let's start with problem number 1. It says the tangent of 210. So we're going to continue on with those same 3 questions we asked before, and then from there we'll take it a step further. So 210 is in the 3rd quadrant. Tangent is positive in the 3rd quadrant. My reference angle, how far am I from the x-axis? If I do 210 minus 180, that gives me 30 degrees. And that I can find the exact value of. The tangent of 30. Opposite over adjacent, that would be 1 over root 3. We do have to rationalize it to put it in simplest form. To rationalize, remember you multiply root 3 over root 3. So your final answer would be root 3 over 3. Make sure that you rationalize it. If you don't, you're going to lose points. Okay, so make sure you take that all the way to the end there. Problem number 2 is talking about the cosecant of 300 degrees. So I'm not going to use my reciprocal trig function until I get down to my acute angle. Okay, so 300 degrees is in the 4th quadrant. Cosecant follows sine, so it's going to be negative in the 4th quadrant. So I have negative cosecant of 300. And how far am I from the x-axis? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't put the 300 in there. We have to find the angle. How far am I from the x-axis? Well, I'm in the 4th quadrant, so I'm doing 360 minus 300, so that would give me 60 degrees. Okay, I'm going to go to my special right triangle here. Remember, cosecant flips sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So cosecant would be hypotenuse over opposite, so that would be negative 2 over square root 3. I do have to rationalize that. And so my final answer is negative 2 root 3 over 3. Okay, let's go down to problem number 3. This is an angle that clearly is out of the scope of just 360 degrees. I personally can't visualize what 1560 degrees is, where it ends up. So I'm going to use my coterminal angles and get this down to something that I do recognize. So I'm going to keep subtracting 360 from it until I get an angle that's between 0 and 360. When I do that, I can get that down to an angle of 120 degrees. So the tangent of 1560 is equal to the tangent of 120. And 120 now is in the 2nd quadrant. Tangent is negative in the 2nd quadrant. And my reference angle would then be 60. That's how far I am from the x-axis. And now I can go to my special right triangles, tangent of 60 opposite over adjacent. So that would be negative root 3. In problem number 4, we have a negative angle, so I am going to add 360 to that, so I get an angle that's between 0 and 360. When I add 360 to that, I end up with the secant of 315 degrees. 315 is in the 4th quadrant. Secant follows cosine. Cosine is positive in the 4th, so secant will be positive in the 4th. My reference angle is 45 degrees, 360 minus 315. And secant flips cosine. Cosine is hypotenuse over adjacent. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. So that's going to be root 2. So it becomes very easy if you just follow those steps in that order. If you want to pause the video for a second and try problems 5, 6, and 7 on your own, and then you can start up the video again and I'll go through the answers. Okay, here are the answers for 5, 6, and 7. Again, I'm just going to draw myself a quick little cheat only because I'm on a different screen here. So here's 30 and 1, 2, and root 3, and I have my 45, 45, 90, 1, 1, root 2. I just am writing this again so you can get used to the habit of putting it down on your paper. Okay, problem number 5, negative 960 degrees. I'm going to keep adding 360 to it till I get to an angle that's between 0 and 360. So that would be the sine of 120. 120 is in the 2nd quadrant. Sine is positive in the 2nd quadrant. My reference angle is 60. And the sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. Problem number 6 is a little bit different because there's that negative in front. Okay, this negative out here has nothing to do with this negative in here because this is really the same as negative 1 times the secant of negative 675. Okay, so I don't want you to mix up those negatives and think, oh, a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so we've got negative 675, and I'm going to add 360 to it. And I'm going to add 360 again, and that puts me at 45 degrees. So this is equivalent to negative secant of 45. That's in the 1st quadrant, so I know it's going to be positive, but I still have that negative out in front, so I don't want to forget that negative. Okay, and secant of 45 degrees would just be root 2, so the final answer is negative root 2. 1140, if I take 1140 and subtract 360, and let's see, I'm going to subtract 360 again, and one more time. And that leaves me with 60 degrees. So the cosecant of 60 degrees, this is in the 1st quadrant, so I don't need to worry about signs at all. Cosecant flips sine. So the sine of 60 would be radical 3 over 2. So this would be 2 over radical 3. Remember, we want to rationalize it. So we end up with 2 root 3 over 3. So that's how you're going to go about doing these problems. If it says to find the exact value, you got to take it all the way down to an answer. If it just says find the trig function or express as a trig function of an acute angle, then you're just doing the reference angle part that we did in the last video. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.